To the Historical Society. Oh, that's good. Welcome everyone to the Historical Society of Carroll County. This is our box lunch talk series. Today we're thrilled to have Jim Shriver come and talk with us. Jim is a lifelong resident and he's also a board member, and we're going to be talking about some historical adventures. But before we get too far down the track of introductions, I just want to let you know this is being recorded, and we're going to ask you to hold your questions till the end. There will be a Q&A opportunity at the end. So if you could all just keep yourselves on mute until we get to the point of questions and answers, that'll help with barking dogs and trucks that are backing up. Just put yourself on mute, and then we won't have any interruptions. There will be a Q&A at the end, and at the end you can use either the chat function or you can unmute yourself and ask a question. Some people find the chat function good because then they can really get their question down, typed out, and they don't have to worry about forgetting it while they're in line with other people. And of course, some people want to just ask questions, and we'll ask that if you want to ask a question and unmute yourself, remember there are other people in line, so try to only ask a few questions and allow the speaker to address other people. So we welcome you here today. This box lunch talk is about the Carroll County and the rural free delivery system. Jim Shriver, as I mentioned, is on our board. You might not know he's also on our exhibit committee, which is very helpful, but he has other things than just working with us. Jim also is a volunteer member of the Board of Governors of the Union Mills Homestead Foundation, and he's on the Board of Trustees. And he's also with the Board of Trustees on the advisory board of the Heart of the Civil War Heritage Area. And so I know Jim from 3 different organizations, and today he asked me, are you going to make the meeting on Thursday? And I couldn't figure out which organization he was talking about, but the answer is usually yes, and I'll fit it in. So thank you, Jim. I really appreciate you being with us today, and you can take away the program.
Oh, Chris, thank you for that kind introduction, and allow me to share my screen. Carroll County and the development of rural free delivery. I have a little technical difficulty. My slides aren't advancing. Oh, there we go. Postmaster General John Wanamaker petitioned Congress in early 1890s for $6 million to start rural free delivery. Congress, feeling it was impractical and would bankrupt the country, denied the request. Congress later, in 1896, appropriated $10,000 to the experiment with the service. Why Carroll County? Superintendent of Free Delivery, A.W. Maehen, stated, the experiment should be made in a strictly farming community, presenting many of the physical conditions likely to be encountered in the general introduction of the service. Carroll County, Maryland, presented those conditions. Also, it helped that A.W. Maehen had a summer home in Westminster. Edwin W. Shriver, its designer and inventor of the traveling post office scheme, will be the first traveling postmaster in the United States. Edwin was contracted for $1,375 per year for 6 days per week and a circuit of more than 30 miles to perform all the functions provided by the postmaster at Westminster. He was to furnish a 2-horse covered wagon. Edwin designed a wagon expressly for this service. From the Baltimore Sun, as every country postmaster knows, suburban mail, especially that received in towns and not on rail lines, is burdened with greater proportion of bulky and cumbersome matter than mail ordinarily posted for the city distributor. The new post office on wheels would have ample space. Edwin Shriver was born June 4th, 1851, and he married Minnie Gillette. At age 47, he began his second career when he submitted his design and proposal for rural-free delivery. Prior to that time, Edwin was a purser on the iron steamboat line between New York and Long Branch, New Jersey. Who is Edwin Shriver? He's a descendant of David and Rebecca Shriver at Farm Content. His grandfather was Isaac Shriver, a member of the House of Delegates, president of Westminster Bank, and also the donor of the property of Carroll County's courthouse in Westminster. He is also a nephew of David Shriver Jr., who first lived with his wife Eve in the Sherman Fisher Shellman House, today owned by the Historical Society. His father, Francis, was a tanner, and as a civilian, rode with the 1st Delaware Cavalry in Corbett's charge. Later, he became mayor of Westminster. Edwin had 2 brothers who served in the Union Army as well, George and Horatio. Edwin resided at 146 West Main Street, Westminster, Maryland. This is the design from the original plans Edwin presented in 1898. It has drop windows, a sliding door, 1 3/4 inch thick. The front wheel is 41.5 inches and the rear wheel 45 inches. The postal wagon is 7.5 feet from the ground, 18 inches from the ground, and the body is 8 feet long and 4 feet wide. It weighs 550 pounds. It costs $175 and drawn by 2 horses. The wagon is waterproof and can be used on the route winter and summer. There's a door each side, 3 windows each side, and a rear section with pigeonholes. From the original plans in 1898, you have a rear section showing the pigeonholes, a front section showing pigeonholes, and each with a working table. Plan 2 shows pigeonholes and a working table and a rear door. There would be bold markings on the postal wagon, identifying it as U.S. mail. Plan 2 shows a door on the side, drop windows, and the selling point is that this will be a post office on wheels. Plan 3, again, you have a front section, a rear section, and a diagram of the sliding door. From his original plans, you have a driver's seat that is 16 inches wide and steps in the rear, 12 inches by 46 inches. Plan 4 has a rear door with a drop window, and he set the scale at 1 inch to equal 1 foot. Constructed by her brothers and built with inside counters, drawers, and letter boxes. 16 large boxes in the back, 42 small boxes in the front, all were zinc lined. The vehicle is well adapted to the purpose for which it was designed. It's not a heavy, lumbering affair requiring strong draft horses to move it, but light and easy running, yet strong and durable. The body is not much, if any, longer than a 3-seated surrey and is painted a beautiful navy blue and highly polished. The sliding door is placed in the center on each side, and on its panel and on the back of the vehicle is a legend in large white letters with red shadings, U.S. Mail. The words postal wagon in similar letters also appear on the sides. Post Office Department First Assistant Postmaster General Perry S. Heath states, a postal wagon equipped with all the essentials of a post office and in charge of a bonded postal employee will start from Westminster Post Office. This is a photo of Edwin Shriver collecting mail at the toll gate on Gettysburg Road, about a half mile from Westminster. Uniforms were either a bluish gray or cadet gray, the same as those used by city carriers, and also you were allowed a suitable cap or hat. Anticipation mounts. This is national news for Carroll County. The route would start at 7 a.m. after the last mail from Baltimore and the East has arrived, plus the star routes. It is sorted and ready for its first day. The first experimental route goes Westminster to Warfieldsburg to Bales, Bales to Dennings, Dennings to Longs, Longs to Taylorsville, Taylorsville to Gist, Gist to Bird Hill to Smallwood, Smallwood to Fenby, and Fenby back to Westminster, about 10 hours. And you served 300 families and still meets the trains from Western Maryland, both the fast line east and west. Route A connects with Route B, connects with rural carriers 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Also, it connects with lines, the rail lines in villages and smaller post offices. Newspaper coverage often evokes the theme of rural versus urban citizens. And also there was coverage in the nation's capital of rural free delivery. This helps influence Congress, who is essential to funding this new endeavor. This dramatic headline in the reads of the last sentence, success or failure of the experiment in this community hung the fate of farmers of the nation. The Baltimore American recorded the first letter delivery. After leaving the corporation lines of Westminster, the two smart-looking bobtailed horses in the delivery wagon took upon themselves a handsome trot, and it was but a few minutes before the going of the wagon was clanging in front of the home of Mr. George Baird to deliver the first letter of the first trip. A horn was blown by the driver to notify farmer folk there is mail for them. The first trip of the post office on wheels, which from present indication promises to revolutionize the present system of rural delivery, and was made today and was a decided success. This photograph was turned into an illustration and appeared in over 7 publications: the Weekly News Frederick, New Ideas Philadelphia, Farm and Home, the American Agriculturist Weekly, the Record Philadelphia, and the New York Annual. The first delivery had 238 ordinary letters, 6 postal cards, and 261 newspapers and circulars, showing the importance of communicating with rural people as how they receive their news. And there was also 5 packages. The first pickup had 36 letters, 4 postal cards, 2 registered letters, plus they collected and delivered 3 letters on the route. This illustration appeared in the Record, Philadelphia, April 11th, 1899. Post office wagons will deliver letters to country people. There was opposition to rural free delivery. Through sleet and rain, several hundred citizens of rural districts of Carroll County unite in a meeting to protest against rule-free delivery. They elected officers and wrote a resolution against. There was a letter to the editor of the Baltimore American by B.F. Rigler, Bale, Carroll County, Maryland. He noted that many people do not live along county roads and question the safety of mailboxes. Are they to trust their mail to a little box by the roadside, perhaps 1 mile away, and liable to be broken open and pillaged by those who fear no law? Do they have to wait with valuable packages? There is opposition from Silver Run. Businesses in our little village is very dull at this time. Before rule-free delivery was forced upon us, farmers and those following various other occupations would come down to town once or twice a week. Every day we hear, oh, we will make it better. We are not bears, lions, or any other dangerous wild beast, but we are American citizens demanding the rights of our citizenship. There's a protest by the people of Manchester, dissatisfied with the new system, are in arms against it. They claim more mail usage than any other town its size in Maryland. This is probably due to the large number of tobacco manufacturers making cigars in Manchester. The Reverend Charles M. Eister, pastor of the Lutheran Church in Manchester, spoke in defense of rule-free delivery to a mob. He was forced to resign. In further opposition, I am sorry to say that rule-free delivery is a failure and a great dissatisfaction. Claims that 1/2 of Keysville's patrons must walk 1/4 to 3/4 of a mile for their mail. And Edwin Shriver was actually fired upon while delivering the postal wagon by one of the infuriated residents of Carroll County. There were also numerous exchanges by telegram with Congressman George A. Perry defending rule-free delivery by Edwin Shriver. Finally, the congressman agrees rule-free delivery will be successful in Carroll County and becomes one of the proponents for the system. Let's have a slide that won't advance. There is support from former postmaster at Union Mills, Lewis E. Shriver. Well, do we all remember the trials and tribulations of attending the establishment of the service in our country and the kicking that was made against it now? And when things are working smoothly and the people satisfied with it, would undoubtedly be a bad policy to make a backward step. I was always in favor of the service and used my influence to induce the people to accept it. Rule-free delivery put the old Star route out of commission and cost Lewis Shriver his postmaster's job in Union Mills. A support letter from J.E. Nelson. Allow me to compliment you upon the success of rural delivery wagon. The farmers that have their mail delivered to their homes do not want post offices. They have just what they want and feel very grateful towards you for it. L.N. Bale, Medfield. I always have been going 1.5 miles for my mail and very often come home without it. Now my mail leaving Baltimore office at 4:30 and at a little after 8, I am sitting at my own store reading the news. A letter to Carroll Countyans by Perry S. Heath. First Assistant Postmaster General. In its efforts to extend postal facilities to the residents of the people of Carroll County, the department desires and expects the cooperation of those who are to be benefited by the new service. I therefore strongly urge that you or your family will provide within a reasonable time a suitable and safe mailbox to be erected at a point convenient to the postal wagon as it passes the route. Mail can be picked up where anyone along the route meets the mail wagon, or a mailbox with name on it is placed for pickup and delivery. You also have the option of a duplicate key. We have photos of the nest of boxes. These were for families off the main road. In a photograph that appears in the Saturday Evening Post, Edwin Shriver, William A. Roop of Wolfersburg, Maryland, the farmer came 1/2 mile for his mail. Soon, carriers had other tasks. Dear mail carrier, please feed our chickens and water the cows and the mule in the stable. And if the bees swarmed, put them in a new hive. We have gone visiting. There was expansion. There were 3 post offices on wheels added, Route A, B, C, and D, and we expanded to 45 letter carriers to meet and exchange mail along the routes. Postal wagon A traveled 30 and 5/6 miles. Postal wagon B, 26.5 miles. Postal wagon C, 25 1/3 miles, and postal wagon D, 30 3/4 miles. The postmen were paid a salary of $500. There were also rural carriers that had routes of 1 to 26 who were paid $400. There were a few who were paid only $200 and $300, but soon all were raised to $400. Mr. H.H. Herball contracted to provide a driver and a team of horses for 1 year. Postal wagon A was taken over by Calvin T. Fritz. Postal wagon B, Atlee W. Wampler. Postal wagon C by Frank S. Grumbine. And postal wagon D, Charles E. Yingling. The big wagon as a post office intended to replace the majority of star route offices and 4th-class post offices, where postmasters are paid a percentage on the postal services. Actually, there's a savings with rural-free delivery. It cost $1,375. It was the pay of a postal clerk and driver and care of horses and a wagon. This would replace 7 4th-class post offices and 4 star route carriers that cost $1,600. Postmasters typically were paid $4,200, and a star route contractor received $5,100 a year. Again, post offices were not closed along rail lines. Across the country, 40,000 minor rural post offices were to close as a result of rural-free delivery. The postal wagon could cancel a letter en route, and soon you learned how to address a letter. For Femby, Smallwood, Eastview, Gamber, Louisville, and Sandyville, you would write care of Wagon B, Westminster, Maryland. And as you can see, they went out of state with letters going to Ohio, and also return letters coming back showing the success of the system. And you probably heard the expression, putting your 2 cents in. Well, these are all 2-cent postage. Success generates positive coverage for Carroll County. Farmers everywhere now enjoy complete use of the mails. In the upper Midwest, they use a sleigh design for snow. In Carroll County, we just add another team of horses. This is not a terrorist or a highwayman, but a rural carrier. Look at the blizzards, 20 degrees below zero in Bowling Green, Ohio. In a letter to H. Conquest Clark, superintendent of rural free delivery, Edwin Shriver notes that he has expanded service while on special assignment to 11 states, 16 counties, and 747 routes. What kind of person was Edwin Shriver? He's described as kind, courteous, and patient, very much a diplomat, as you can see from his correspondence. And he possessed attention to detail, extremely well organized, and had great penmanship. Edwin had tremendous influence on the equipment purchased for rural free delivery. Here is a Terry Hawk Carriage Company promoting their postal wagon. This is an all-wood wagon. The panels were made from the best select poplar, the seals from straight-grained ash, guaranteed second growth hickory wheels. In an era women do not have the right to vote, but they can be a rural carrier. We have more national recognition. In an article by Perry S. Heath in the Saturday Evening Post, July 14, 1900. It brings him into actual touch with the government and causes him to feel that he is getting something back for the taxes he has so long and so willingly paid. There were continued improvements. A meeting of rural carriers was held in Westminster last Sunday, that being the only day available for the purpose, in order that they might have a conference with Superintendent Maehen and receive instructions in detail. The carriers were cautioned that they must accommodate the people at all times, notwithstanding provocation. Also, that all persons were to be treated alike without favoritism, either on account of personal or political considerations. Outgoing mail could be delivered between stops. Locals could actually receive mail on the same day service. And again, return in time to meet the mail trains going east and west. Vehicles will be complete post offices, receiving, collecting, canceling, registering, stamp and postal card selling, money order sending, and cashing equipment. They have unique duties as a composite carrier and banker. Edwin Shriver retired in March 1905. He returned to Westminster and began his third career as a police magistrate. He passed away October 13, 1936, and is buried in Westminster Cemetery. Yes, there were backroom meetings. Here, a special commission is to design and approve mailboxes. By 1902, there were 14 different kinds, and they would continue to only approve those mailboxes for the service. RFD carrier Philetus R. Height with his decorated mail wagon. Mr. Height carried the mail from Sykesville on the first day of countywide delivery, December 20th, 1899. There's a truck ad. It covers ground in half the time a horse takes and goes as fast at the end of a day's work as at the beginning. We have continued modernization. And yes, a pistol packing postman. RFD carrier wagons are proudly maintained in Carroll County. Edith R. Doan in 1959 gave a speech on RFD at the annual dinner for the Historical Society, November 12th. In the modern era, Carroll County today has over 25 routes, operates 6 days a week, 7 days, including overnight express mail, has over 13,000 rural deliveries to mailboxes. The average delivery is 6 to 8 pieces of mail, and the average route is 25 miles, very similar to the routes of the post wagon, that most of those were 30 miles. They average 500 deliveries and have almost the same duties, except they do not cancel letters. And I like to acknowledge my sources of information and note that Edwin F. Shriver, the son of Edwin W. Shriver, donated his father's scrapbook to the Historical Society and is maintained in our library today. And I'd welcome any questions you may have.
Jim, that was excellent, but some people reported they missed like your first 10 slides. So I wonder if you'd be willing to go back and just show those beautiful slides.
Oh, I'm sorry. There was some reason.
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't your fault, and I don't know why, but.
Yeah, let me see if I can start from the beginning.
Jim, while you're working on that, can I put in a little plug about that reference that you were talking about?
Oh, please do.
The Shriver book that he mentioned at the end of his presentation is now on display in the library. We have 2 exhibit cases, one in the library, one in the hallway of Kimmy. And we have temporary exhibit up on the RFD to complement this talk and actually to complement our gala coming up, which I'll talk more about once Jim's done with his slides.
These are all drawings by Edwin Shriver. And it's amazing the detail in each. And I hope that covers the missing slides.
Yes, that's a beautiful slide. That really is. And thank you
how
very
handsome
much.
those horses look and how beautiful that polished wagon. And I can imagine that navy blue color standing out.
And so if you love these slides, you're going to want to come in and look in the library and see the original drawing of that first wagon. We have that book open to that page, and you can come see what we have as part of our original documentation for this topic. So of course, that's a sneak peek that is in advance of our gala. And right now I'd like to ask if we have any questions out there. Does anybody have any questions? I do have an excellent presentation, Jim. Well, of course, we expect that from Jim. Excellent presentation. Here's a question from Karen that says, could farmers get mail delivered at their homes if they paid for it, since this new method was called rural free delivery?
Yes, before they'd have to go to a local village post office and pick up their mail. Having it delivered right to your home free was the reason that they used that. Otherwise, you would have to make a trip to go get your mail if you lived in a rural area.
So there was really no
service, no
like
free service
CVS.
to get your mail. You had to go to a village post office.
And then the next question that Carol asks is, let's see, what does she say? How long did this free delivery take to catch on throughout the US?
Well, the experiment ran in 1899 in Carroll County, and it was gradually implemented And I think within several years, it was pretty much nationwide.
Great. Arthur has a comment that he's tossing in, which is very interesting. There are several short films made by Thomas Edison's film studio available online through the Library of Congress website that shows the rural mail delivery in and around Westminster in 1903. Oh, that's fascinating, Arthur. Thanks for adding that to the conversation. I have a question from Dr. Sue. Was the first postal wagon from these drawings also made in Carroll County?
Yes, that wagon was made by her brothers, and it was made based on Edwin's design and made here in Carroll County.
Great. And so Karen asks, please tell again why Carroll County was chosen as the first county to have rural delivery.
Well, for several reasons. I think one, that Edwin Shriver made a very convincing case that a postal wagon could be a post office on wheels with his drawings. Also, it was still a very rural area, and we had that benefit of A.W. Maehen living here as a summer home in Westminster.
Wow. So that seems like a lot of good reasons to make us that.
Yes. A.W. Maehen was superintendent for free delivery. So his influence was very important. Also, when you think about it, Carroll County is not far from the nation's capital, so that the Postal Service could oversee what was happening in Carroll County.
Okay, thank you. So this is from Sam, and he asks, was there a package size limit before parcel post was instituted?
You know, I don't know the answer to that, about the size of packages that they would carry.
I do know at one time long ago, they actually would send chickens through the mail, like live animals would go through the mail. That's crazy to me. All right, Karen asks, for a few years, could you mail chickens? Oh, that's what I just said. Karen, we're thinking the same way. Did this also happen in Carroll County?
It probably did. I don't have any information about live animals being transported, but I'm sure it did.
She also mentions even children were mailed. I never heard that, but that's interesting.
What I thought was interesting was that you could get same-day delivery. So if you live 3 or 4 miles away from your neighbor, you could send them a letter and they could get it the same day. So you could, by being able to cancel letters en route, they could then deliver them same day. So before Federal Express, you're getting same-day delivery.
The Reverend Dr. Sue mentions baby chicks are still mailed today. Well, that's good to know. Thank you.
Well, and Chris, this is Kathy. I did find in Shriver's logbook, the scrapbook, a reference to a pig that was left out with postage on his backside. It was picked up and delivered to an adjacent farm.
Well, that's wonderful, Kathy, to know pigs were included. We got pigs and chicks. All right, and then Sue Bloom says, wonderful talk, informative and well-paced. Great job. Do we have any other questions? I don't see any more in chat. Is there anyone who wants to ask a question? Because if not, we'll move on. All right, hearing none, I want to thank you, Jim. As always, very fun and interesting talk. It fits in perfectly with our month of communication, which we're doing to support the gala that's coming up on the 26th. I hope you all have that on your calendar. On the 26th, Saturday at 7 o'clock, we will be having a virtual gala that'll be presented. There will be a live component, which is the silent auction. And we've all been working really hard to pull this program together. So be sure and dial in at 7 o'clock on HD 1086. I believe it'll also be simulcast on our YouTube and Facebook channels. So if you don't have TV access, that's another way to get it. And in support of that, we'll be having the small exhibit in our gallery right here at Kimmy, where we invite people to come by and see something new here at the Historical Society. And we will also be hosting up a virtual exhibit. So look forward to that in a couple of days when we got it perfect. We will have that up on our website. So that's something new to look for on our website. Of course, the gala is the 26th. Then after that, we can look forward to our next box lunch talk, which will be July 20th. It'll again be a Zoom presentation, and it'll be entitled The Emperor's Eagles. And it should be very interesting discussion about a new book that's come out on war in France, and it's by a local person's cousin. So it should be really interesting to hear that author talk about this particular topic. So tune in next month for our box lunch talk. Again on Zoom, and again, it's going to be brought to you free like we have. Of course, we always ask for you to consider donating to us. You know, we used to charge a price, but we just can't do that these days on Zoom. But if you are so inclined, you can always send in a small amount of money to support us. I've gotten a few checks that say for the BLTs, and we want to thank you for that. Then in September, we're going to have our Bluegrass event, September 10th. I hope you have that on your calendar. That will start between 6 and 9 o'clock. It's Bluegrass at the Barn. We'll have Bluegrass, Bourbon, and Bocce is the name of the event. It's at Rob's Bluegrass Barn on View West Drive in Westminster. It's a medium-priced kind of fundraiser. It's really, if you get your tickets in advance, it's only $40 a head. A little extra charge if you try to get your tickets at the door. However, I will warn you, the last time we hosted this, we sold out. So you're going to want to definitely get your tickets in advance. And $40 a head includes wine tasting, bourbon tasting, bocce, and burgers. Pat will be back with his burgers, gourmet burgers again. So you get burgers and fries. And that's one of those events that you don't want to miss, because the music will be presented by Sideline, and they are one of the top bluegrass bands in the country right now. And we've had them scheduled for over a year, and they're coming up from the Tennessee area to see us. So you definitely want to make that big fundraiser. And it was really successful and fun the last time we had it. So come on and join us then. With that, I want to thank everybody for your attention, and I want to definitely thank the Chamber of Commerce for supporting us this time. Definitely want to thank the programming committee with Lynn Wheeler for managing all this. Definitely want to thank Jim for joining us, and hope you'll all join us for our next program. Thanks.
Thanks everyone for participating.